All right, I think we're live. I'm going to turn that down a little bit. All right. All right. Well, first of all, if you are new to this channel, I just want to welcome you. I just somehow in the last 24 hours got like a whole slew of new subscribers, and I don't know how. I like that was like just like a miracle from the sky, but I want to thank you. And if you are new to this channel, welcome. And if you're returning to this channel, welcome back. But if you're new to this channel, I want to welcome you and welcome to my living room. Welcome to these news live broadcasts where we are interrupted by kids, the cat who's sitting outside the window, and sometimes missiles. And yet, despite the fact that it's really chill and relax, and we're just like literally sitting here talking about the news and having a great back and forth, we have built a great community on a first name basis. And it's been really fun going back and forth and chatting just about the the news as I'm delivering it. So anyway, so on that note, feel free to drop your name in the chat, your geographic location, and any comments or questions. I try to get to all of them. I'm also extremely technologically challenged. And sometimes somebody, like my husband will remind me, like, you can show the chats on the screen. And I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. But sometimes I also get a little caught up in the news, and then I forget the technology part. But anyway, welcome, and what a day to join, because there's so much going on and I don't even know where to start. I mean, here's just like some highlights of what is coming up. The talks are back on. The war talks, the ceasefire talks are back on. Oh my God, I wanted to cover that too. I just saw that. I'll have to find it. There's another story I really wanted to hit. Oh my gosh, because not only are we talking about war, but there's like all this like religious war circulating, wars over religion, wars over this, that, whatever. We're going to be talking about what's happening with the talks, US, Iran. Are they on? Are they off? What's happening with the Iranian government? Khalibaf, the Speaker of Parliament, what's he doing? Moshtaba Khamenei, MIA. Ceasefire in Lebanon. And if this is a ceasefire, I'd hate to see what a war is. I'll tell you all about that. Also, talks between Israel and the U.S., Israel and Lebanon in the U.S., where we're going to get to that. Now, the big thing in the Israeli news right now, like the top of the hour news, was about Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announcing that he was diagnosed and then treated for cancer in 2024. And the press is going wild. Like, how could this have happened without any of us knowing? So, and also just briefly, we'll touch on Israel appointing a special, I say briefly, I probably lied, appointing a special envoy to the Christian world after a series of faux pas that were committed by the Israeli government and the military and about Christians and Christianity. And actually, what I was thinking after that was they don't need a special envoy to the Christian world. Israel needs a special advisor to the government about Christianity, how to speak to Christians, how to to understand Christianity, and also to get some education into the Israeli classrooms that maybe Christians did bad things in the past, but generally they're not your enemies, and you should not be also defacing Christian religious symbols, like, i.e., Jesus on a cross, but the name was never mentioned. And I may have said that in one of my previous broadcasts. But and before I even look at the chats, because I see there are some, but I want to still focus. I just want to tell you that today is April 24th. You probably know that, but do you know that April 24th is also Armenian Genocide Memorial Day? So wherever there is an Armenian community, there is likely some sort of commemoration. Now, there was in Jerusalem, of course, because there is a large, well, large, relatively, there is a solid and continuous Armenian community here for the past 1700 years. And they observe the genocide memorial every year on April 24th. This particularly was, this is the 111th year since the genocide began. And there are, the atrocities associated with the Armenian genocide are mind boggling. I recommend, if you're interested, I could recommend a book, but, just don't read it before you go to bed. It's called Ravished Armenia by Aurora, I think, Mardigian. Look that up, Ravished Armenia. Anyway, so that so you can learn about that. But anyway, in the last couple of days, yesterday and today, I took part in some of the events associated with the Armenian genocide. I covered it. I'll be writing an article about it. I kind of slogged through it today, but I have to check it again before I actually put it out to publish. So anyway, okay. Now let's just do this. Let me just show you the chats on the screen. You guys are amazing. Hi, Jerry. Hi, Carolyn, John. Daniel's not, he's still, he doesn't realize we're on live yet. So he's lurking in the background. Walter, thank you for joining. And William, great to have you. Yeah. Oh, Walter, Tucker Carlson has been on it all, like crazy, attacking Israel and attacking America on things too. I am sure. I mean, what's happening in the past couple of days has given Tucker a lot of ammunition. And Tucker says things that are generally, I'm like, oh yeah, that's true. And, but I also feel he's using it to build a narrative and an agenda. And he doesn't give context and nuance about what's going on here. And anyway, that's my take on Tuck there. So okay, so let's go to the news and see what's going on. Let's start with Netanyahu. He announced that in 2024, he was diagnosed with prostate cancer. He underwent surgery. And also, so here's what he said. He published his annual medical report, and he said, I requested to delay its publication by 2 months so that it would not be released at the height of the war in order to prevent the terror regime in Iran from spreading more false propaganda against Israel. I want to share 3 things with you. Number 1, thank God I am healthy. Number 2, I am in excellent physical condition. And number 3, I had a small medical issue with my prostate that was completely treated. Thank God it's behind me. So he also, I think, hold on, I'll really find, I have so many screens open right now. Oh, yes. So this guy, let me see. He underwent surgery. It was removed. And then he apparently is still receiving radiation treatment. And his medical team has confirmed that he is cancer free right now. So anyway, that is the latest with that. Now there is something else that he said. Oh, and by the way, I just see that Dava jumped on. Hi, Dava in Oklahoma. And Emily. Nice. Thank you for joining, guys. Okay, so I'm going to take off this, or take the screen off, because we're going to look at a few things, because there's a lot of news we're going to go through. Yes. Okay, so this is what is this? I did not choose this. Look at the screen. I didn't choose this, how it's set up. How do I do that? How do I flip that?
I don't see anything right now.
Because you're on a delay. All right. How do I flip? I swear. I swear, me and
Oh, this.
technology. Yes. How do I make that? How do I flip that? I don't have my usual things where I can like change. They changed it. This whole restream thing, they changed it. I want to change the, no, I want to maximize you. Did I maximize? Yes. And I minimized myself. Okay. I'm not even on the screen. It's okay though. It's okay. You don't need to see me. Okay. So here we go. Okay. So we're going to say now this is in Hebrew, I believe. So I
להשיג שלום היסטורי בין ישראל ללבנון.
bring you the translation.
וברור לנו שחיזבאללה מנסים לחבל בזה. אנחנו שומרים על חופש פעולה מלא, נגד כל איום, גם איומים מתהווים. תקפנו אתמול, תקפנו היום, אנחנו נחושים להחזיר את הביטחון לתושבי הצפון. הבטחתי לכם שנשנה את פני המזרח התיכון, וזה בדיוק מה שאנחנו עושים. קודם כל באיראן.
Okay. I promised you that we would change the face of the Middle East, and this is exactly what we are doing. Now, I'll also read to you some of the other parts of the quote where he went on to say, first and foremost in Iran, I had an excellent conversation with President Trump. He is applying very strong pressure on Iran, both economically and militarily. We are operating in full cooperation. The same applies to Lebanon. We have begun a process to achieve a historic peace agreement or historic peace between Israel and Lebanon, and it is clear to us that Hezbollah is trying to sabotage this. We are maintaining full freedom of action against any threat, including emerging ones. We attacked yesterday and we attacked today. We are determined to restore security to the residents of the North. Now, regarding Lebanon, there have been several missiles or drones, rockets fired by Hezbollah today. There have been several attacks by Israel on Hezbollah targets in southern Lebanon. There's been a lot of back and forth. That's why I said if this is what a ceasefire looks like, I'd hate to see war. Because since the ceasefire was declared, there hasn't gone a day hasn't gone by that there has not been some sort of attack. Israel, the military is in southern Lebanon. They have not moved. Hezbollah did not fire a lot in the first couple of days, but it seems like they have ramped it up in the past couple of days. I think some of that is in response to what's going on in Washington. And we will talk about that. The talks are progressing slowly, but they are progressing. And President Trump greeted the negotiating teams yesterday. So that really gives it what's the word, like really some validation. Now, he also said he's expecting the leaders of Israel and Lebanon to meet together with him in Washington in the coming weeks. So that will be a huge step. And we'll see if anything happens before then to sabotage it, because not everybody is in favor of, especially there are factions in Lebanon that are in favor of talks with Israel, though many Lebanese are saying like it's time to make this this deal and to have peace. But really what, in many ways, what they're saying is enough with Iranian influence in our country and enough with Hezbollah bullying the country. And so, oh wait, that was almost exact. Actually, that's what Mike Huckabee described. I don't know if I'll find that quote. I have some video of the White House press conference where the ambassador Mike Huckabee was there, and he said something like, he likened Hezbollah to the bully on the playground. So we will check on that. And Terry Ann says, thank you for the updates. I missed your take on Tucker. I'll have to look back at some point. I'll just briefly say Tucker is very happy with a lot of what's coming out of Israel lately. It suits uh, his agenda, and he can be right in some points, but he can also really take it to different levels. He uses facts, things that are true, but piles them up to get to his agenda. I think if you are able to just hold the facts, and just be like, okay, but this can also be true at the same time. Two things can be true at the same time. Okay, before we go on to Lebanon, I just wanted to, on uh, in light of what Netanyahu just said about, I have to find it, about um, changing the face of the Middle East. I want to play for you this clip. Again, I'm going to have to maximize, minimize. How do I do this? Okay, bye. It's just him now. This is Dr. Anwar Gargash, who is with the United Arab Emirates. He's a diplomatic advisor to the UAE president. And after what happened to the UAE, they absorbed a lot of the attacks from Iran, more than Israel. They had more ballistic missiles fired at them than Israel did. And here's what he has to say. This is very interesting. I'm going to play a short clip from here.
I see many things. I think number one, for the Gulf regions, as I said before, Iran clearly today is the strategic threat. And no matter of how much return to normal relations, no matter how much return to various niceties of diplomacy or economic transactions, etc., the Gulf attempts in what I would call a North politics in comparison to Willy Brandt's Ostpolitik has failed. Countries that have tried to be the mediators for Iran were targeted by Iran.
Hey kiddos, tonight, let's go out to eat.
Wait, what? The four of us will arrive at the target, and your mother will hop out of the vehicle and sit along the way to us.
Kennedy party at 4. If it's long.
All right. What happened? It's like an ad jumped in, but you couldn't even see it. That is insane. Oh my God. I told you, technologically challenged. Okay. But what did I do? That's so ridiculous. Okay. So anyway, you see that he's basically saying things are changing with Iran. We were the ones who used to negotiate for them and be the we would mediate or be in between. But now after what they've done, the trust has been broken. So this is fracturing across the Middle East, because if you look at the map, you've got the UAE and the Gulf states all the way to the east of like this section of land, and Israel and Lebanon all the way to the west. And what you see is now with Lebanon and Israel, with the rapprochement. How do you say that in French, Tony? Like rapprochement. It's like the French way to say it. Never mind. With them working on their ties, Tony's slowly going to be like, whatever. Rapprochement, something like that. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, with them working on their negotiating and working toward potential normalization, you have from sea to shining sea an anti-Iran axis, basically from the Gulf all the way through Saudi Arabia. Not that they've stated that they're going to be anti, but they were also attacked. And then, of course, with Bahrain as well. And then, of course, after Saudi, the dominoes could fall into place. Also, if Lebanon rejects Iran and Hezbollah and makes peace with Israel, and then also last but not least, Syria, despite the regime that's in place, it definitely is also not an ally of Iran. In fact, has kind of cut access between Iran to Lebanon, to Hezbollah in Lebanon. So in some ways, they also fill that gap, despite being an outlier. So, okay, so let's see. So that is that, but let's check out a little bit of what President Trump had to say in this, talking about Israel and Lebanon at the White House.
Because these countries have been bordering each other for many, many years, and it doesn't happen much, although they like each other. I found that out today, and I've sort of heard about that. They actually like each other, Lebanon and Israel. And we had a great meeting with the very high officials of Lebanon and very high officials of Israel, and we think that the president of Lebanon and the prime minister of Israel over the next couple of weeks will be coming here. They've agreed to an additional 3 weeks of, no firing, ceasefire, no more firing. Let's see. We hope that happens. It's not going to happen between them, but they do have Hezbollah to think about. And we're going to be working with Lebanon to get things straightened out in that country. I really believe it's something we can do pretty easily, just with the power of who we are. They're great people, the Lebanese people. We have our ambassador here who has done a fantastic job, ambassador to Lebanon from the United States. And we had a great conversation, and I think it's the beginning of something very important. It'd be a wonderful thing to get this worked out simultaneously with what we're doing in Iran. And I'd like to start by just asking JD, our Vice President, our great Vice President, to say a few words, and then Marco will speak, and then the representatives from the country. Mike Huckabee, you'll say a few words, Mike. You've done a great job, by the way. I appreciate it. Everybody does.
All right, guys, I'm dragging it forward a little bit.
Iran has been so degraded. The possibility of degrading Hezbollah and liberating Lebanon from their occupation is real. So we hope that together under your leadership, we can formalize peace between Israel and Lebanon in the very near future. And we are just very thankful for the opportunity.
Well, thank you. And I look forward to having the next meeting with your great Prime Minister. He's a wartime Prime Minister, with Bibi and with the President of Lebanon. It'll be fantastic. I think lots going to happen. Madam Ambassador.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, President Trump. Thank you for your leadership, for making sure to be presiding over this historic moment. I want to really say thank you to the United States under your leadership for all your effort to help and to support Lebanon. And I think with your help, with your support, we can make Lebanon great again. Thank you so much.
Good. Thank you. I like that.
That was hilarious. Make Lebanon great again. She totally just used the Trump line. Now that scores a lot of points in the White House, does it not? That is hilarious. Okay. All right. So you see that moving forward. But do you see the cat outside? Like it's open here. Whatever. Oh my gosh. There's only certain things I can do. Okay. So meanwhile, in Lebanon, here's what's happening. Right over there where they're talking about peace. Let's make this bigger. This is what we are watching. This is footage from the Israeli Defense Forces of when they identified 6 Hezbollah terrorists on the roof of a building in Bint Jbeil. So that fighting right there. Anyway, there is still fighting going on. There were about 6 or 7. I can't believe I just said 6 or 7, but I actually meant it. alerts of incoming, whether it was drones or rockets, missiles into northern Israel today. I think there might have been some targeted attacks by Israel. But so for, this is it. This is a ceasefire. Apparently, this is what they're calling a ceasefire. So this is probably a way to. I mean, Hezbollah does not want Lebanon to normalize ties with Israel. Obviously, I mean, this is their playing ground. What's going to happen is the disarmament of Hezbollah, and if the U.S. gets involved, Israel is already involved. Israel was already kind of given like the go ahead, like to continue doing what it's doing militarily. And Lebanon has said itself, and several different Lebanese officials have said in different interviews, that if Israel, which is a mighty army, could not disarm Hamas, which is a smaller terror group in Gaza, then how can anybody expect the Lebanese army, which is not as strong military as Israel, to disarm Hezbollah, which is a way stronger terror group militia? It's the largest state militia in the world, and they are stronger than the Lebanese army itself. So that is not on the cards, for Lebanon to do on its own, which is probably why you see like this normalization process taking place between Israel and Lebanon. Hi, Lucas. You can come out here if you want. Okay, so now let's move on to Pakistan, because I think there are a few planes headed there this weekend. There's Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner are apparently the U.S. representatives. I think J.D. Vance is not going this time. Vance was like on his way to go. I think it was it a week ago? Was it a few days ago? It was a few days ago. I think it was maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. He was on his way to go. And then everybody called it off. The Iranians said, we're not negotiating, not happening. And the US was like, we're not showing up. So now apparently they're showing up. So what I have gathered, but again, this is all like, I would say needs more research, and I don't have too many details, but it seems there's a lot of tension within Iran between the military wing and the political wing. And the military wing does not want to compromise. They don't want to deal. But the political wing, like for instance, Mohammad Khalibaf, who was one of the head negotiators and he is the Speaker of the Parliament, he's not going. And but their other representatives are going. So the question I have now, he represents, like he's in the political echelon. Does that mean, and these are more of my questions and of the situation, not necessarily answers or analysis. Him not going represent the fact that the IRGC and the military echelon are winning and going to not compromise, and they're going to, and their will be imposed in the negotiations. So I'm not totally sure about that. And also the person who is going that I know of, I think he's going, I don't know if it's been confirmed, is the foreign minister, Abbas Araghchi. So he will be there for Iran, supposedly, and Kushner and Witkoff for the U.S. So should this go down tomorrow, we'll find out. We'll see what happens. I think the blockade on Hormuz is continuing. There have been some reports, like in the media, like some, I think it was the Washington Post I think it was the Washington Post that said basically like, as long as this continues, Trump wins, because pretty soon they're like all the oil in Karg Island, like it will have nowhere to go. So just that the fact that Iran can't move past the US blockade, like first Iran was blockading the strait and saying like, we're going to charge, like a toll for anybody going back and forth, any ship going back and forth. But then the US like, I'll call your blockade with my blockade. And so it's like, their blockade is now stopped by the US blockade. And so far, Trump keeps saying it's costing them some astronomical amount a day. Like, was it like 500 million or something? I don't know, like just some crazy amount basically that they can't sustain. I mean, that's his contention. So anyway, so that's what's going on with that. I'm just checking to see what else I have going on here. That's that. And wow, I'm coming to the end, more or less. All right. So turning away from politics and the wars and rumors of ceasefires and the ceasefires that are not really ceasefires, let's talk about some of Israel's other issues. Oh, I never find the Keepa. I wanted to find the Keepa story. Where can I find that really quick? Because let's talk about the religious wars, which sometimes are much more spicy than the other ones. For starters, about the IDF soldier who sledgehammered a statue of Jesus in southern Lebanon. That obviously did not go down well around the world. That was probably, somebody compared it like they had you haven't seen acts like that against Christian symbols since ISIS. And so the soldier and the soldier who did it and the soldier who filmed are both, I think they're sentenced to jail for 30 days or something like that, the two of them, and removed from their positions. So Israel took it seriously, but obviously needs to take even more seriously how the soldiers even got to that. Now, not only that, there were others, since that came up, I saw some other videos of desecrations of other churches. And of course, in Gaza, there were also churches that were fired at and that were damaged, and and also Christians that were killed. Sniper fire. And now, I don't know if they were killed. I don't think they were killed because they were Christian, but there were two women that were outside the church compound trying to reach the church compound in Gaza, and they were both killed by a sniper. So now, is it because they're Christian? Not necessarily, but anyway, they were right outside the church trying to get to cover. So anyway, that was so there are a lot of issues that with that have come up, and that has, among other things, has prompted Israel to create a position, a special envoy to the Christian world. So they just nominated yesterday, or appointed to the position, George Deek. George Deek is a Christian Israeli Arab from Jaffa. He is Orthodox Christian, as far as I have read. And he also has already served in the Israeli government. And he was, in fact, his most recent position, he was the ambassador of Israel to Azerbaijan. So this didn't necessarily go down too well with all the Christians, of course, in Israel, if not others around the world. Now, also, can I just say, does Israel need an envoy to the Christian world to what? To explain its faux pas and its missteps? Or does Israel actually need an advisor in the government to explain to it about Christianity and why taking a sledgehammer to the cross, to Jesus, is a really bad thing, offensive, desecrating religious symbols. I mean, anyway, so it's like, okay, great. So what are you going to have now? George Deek is going to go around and explain why bad things happened, but it's okay because I'm a Christian. I don't know, but but George, who also claims to, I think one of his grandmothers was Armenian, and so he also talks about having Armenian heritage. But if you know of any of the complications between Armenia and Azerbaijan, and he was the Christian ambassador, or here he is a Christian and the ambassador of Israel to Azerbaijan during the biggest complication, a geopolitical complication, conflict of our times in the Caucasus between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Armenia being the first Christian nation in the world. So what happens now? Israel has great relations with Azerbaijan. They have trade. They probably have like intelligence sharing. Israel is particularly probably interested in Azerbaijan's very long border with Iran, and so they have really good relations. Also, Azerbaijan is very proud of its relations with Israel, and constantly trumps up the fact that they do have good relations with Israel, and that to kind of brag about themselves as a state. But between 2020 to 2023, there were several deadly wars between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Armenia was on the losing end of these wars, and it was because Azerbaijan was better armed. A lot of their arms, their military equipment came from Israel, that they bought from Israel. And so here then, when they won these wars, you had the ambassador and you had other Israelis congratulating their ally Azerbaijan for winning the war, but it was against the Armenians. So a lot of Christians are like, wait a second, you are a Christian ambassador. You're a Christian. How can you celebrate the killing of Christians in this other country, in the first Christian nation in the world? So that's why it's not necessarily going to go down so well with everybody. Now, I'm going to play you a clip from an interview that I did yesterday on CBN News with Raj Nair, where we talked about this. So let me go to that right now. Oh, thank you. All right, here we go.
You are a Christian living in Jerusalem. What are people saying about the appointment of George Deek?
There's divided opinion. Now, I'll give you some background on who he is. He's born and raised in Israel. He's from Jaffa, and George Deek is a Christian. I think he's from the Orthodox background, if I'm not mistaken. But he is an indigenous Christian, but he's also now an Israeli diplomat. And most recently, he was appointed to Azerbaijan as the Israeli ambassador. So what has happened during that time? Azerbaijan and Armenia, which is a Christian nation, were at war. Now, Armenia also has a presence here in the Holy Land in Jerusalem, 1700-year continuous community here in the Old City. And so there's a lot of geopolitical tension there because Israel supports Azerbaijan and has good ties with Azerbaijan, and Azerbaijan used, among others, they used Israeli weapons to then go to war with Armenia. And ultimately what you saw was they did a blockade on Nagorno-Karabakh, and all 120,000 Armenians from that region had to flee after like a 9-month blockade. They fled into Armenia, and now Azerbaijan took that over. So now during that time, George Deek was the ambassador, and he did not condemn, I guess diplomats don't usually condemn, what was happening in that region to other Christians. And many Christians took that as traitorous. How could you not stand with us, at a time like this? So there are some Christians here locally who say that he cannot represent us. But on the other hand, he does represent the Israeli government, and he probably is good at messaging, and he probably understands the nuances better than most of the Israeli politicians who don't understand Christianity itself. So in that sense, he might be able to effectively get the messaging out for Israel on Israel's behalf. The only question is whether all the Christians will see him as representing what they believe. Oh, perfect timing with the ad. Okay, I'm going to stop it there. So anyway, so that's part of the story with George Deek. I have just some quotes. He, in July 2021, he visited the city of what is now called Shusha. What was it in Armenian? Shusha. Sochi?
I'm not sure. I don't know.
You know, the Shushan, the place where the church was? Famous Armenian church?
Stepanakert.
No, that's the capital.
They destroyed the church.
Yeah, maybe not that one. In 2021, because that's the capital.
Well, Stepanakert is the capital.
Right. So it was before that. It was in 2021. So he went to the renamed city of Shusha, and it's an Armenian town that was captured by Azerbaijan during 2020. And he wrote on social media, together with the diplomatic corps in Azerbaijan, I had the historic privilege of being the first Israeli ambassador to visit the remarkable city of Shusha. Now, in what is happening with the lands that this Nagorno-Karabakh, which was Artsakh for the Armenians, they have begun to apparently, as news slips out, it's not like, this is not official, but they're destroying churches. I mean, it's been verified by people, but you can't, this is like hard to come by information, but they're destroying churches, and they're stamping out the presence that there was any presence of Armenians in this area, and that the Armenians were there for 2,000 years. It was the city of Shushi, Tony. Yeah, Shushi. So let me see another. Meanwhile, you've got there are a lot of people praising him. You've got Elon Levy saying Mabruk. You have other Israelis saying, oh, he's going to be great. He's an ambassador. He's going to do a fantastic job reaching out to the Christian world. And of course, all also built on the Israeli Azeri relationship, which was for many Christians actually just a how could a Christian actually abide what was happening there? So anyway, that's just some of the controversy surrounding this appointment for some of the Christians. I think now many of the Christians outside the country won't really know of this or make these connections, and it won't impact his work. But for the Christians here, it's a little mind-boggling to think that he could represent them when he didn't stand up for them when they were being ethnically cleansed from Artsakh, and now as their history and churches are being stamped out in that region. So, okay, now here's another story. Let me just make sure I hit that one. Okay, another story. This is one I wanted to tell you guys about before. This is unbelievable. Okay, here on the Times of Israel, we see, look at this. Police detain a man in Modi'in for wearing a kippah that had both the Israeli and Palestinian flags. Now, it's not just the churches they go after, right? Or that, like, it's not just the Christian symbols, but look at this picture. They took this kippah. Now there's like there is this thing. If you have a Palestinian flag, it's like they can take it away. They can arrest. Can you get arrested for a Palestinian flag now?
You can get arrested.
There's nothing illegal about sporting a Palestinian flag, but look what they did. Oh, and by the way, he's an educator and a lecturer at Hebrew University. I have to read Shlomi's quote. And he was sitting in a cafe and the police came. What I think I read somewhere, that let's find it, that one of the police officers took the kippah and cut the Palestinian flag out. All right, let's just read it. Let's just read it. For the past 20 years, I've worn a kippah that has both the Israeli and Palestinian flag on it. The reason behind the kippah are long and complex and related to the messy ambivalence of my Jewish Zionist identity. But then 5 minutes later, the police arrived, 2 officers, and they immediately tell me that my kippah is against the law and they are going to confiscate it. Displaying a Palestinian flag is not illegal, but police regularly confiscate flags at protests, claiming they disturb the peace. Now it was being banned from my head, my kippah, my religious identity itself. Sinclair was then detained and was taken to a police station. After about 20 minutes, they opened the cell and told me to follow them to the front of the police station. There at the front door, they shoved my backpack into my arms and told me to go without my kippah. Do you understand? Like, they're religious Jews. They're not supposed to take off their kippah. After demanding it be returned, an officer returned the head covering with the Palestinian flag cut out. She'd taken my possession, a religious ritual object, something that is very dear to my heart, and destroyed it. So he has filed a complaint, but he said, I'm not holding my breath. But police in response confirmed the incident, saying they had responded to a report of a man wearing a Palestinian flag and had detained him. Now, I mean, okay, guys, this is not a this is not a Palestinian, going to the Western Wall with with the Palestinian flag. I mean, no, the Western Wall, Al-Aqsa, with the Palestinian flag, looking like he's going to protest. And I mean, this is a religious Jew in Modi'in, this random city between Jerusalem and Tel Aviv, at a coffee shop, religious professor, and they arrest him, assuming that this flag, which is next to the Israeli flag, is incitement and disturbing the peace. And then they violate his religious rights, which is to make him remove the head covering. And then they desecrate his religious symbol and his personal property by cutting it. And they were going to make him leave without it even before that. On every level, this is insane. This is absolutely gone too far insane. And I don't even know what's going to be made of this. What sort of I have no, where is this going to go? I mean, definitely for me, this is going to be something that I follow. And if I hear about it, I will definitely bring you an update. I want to see if I can, I'm just going to read to you a post from another university professor, a colleague, and about the same story here. Not what I meant. Okay. Hold on a sec. Okay, so give credit where credit is due. A story for Shabbos. Yesterday, our colleague, Dr. Alex Sinclair, an adjunct lecturer at Hebrew U, was spotted by some vigilante wearing a kippah featuring the Israeli and Palestinian flag. The police were summoned. Dr. Sinclair promptly arrested on the ridiculous charge of incitement for violence. And I wish I could say incredibly, but very credibly, his kippah returned by a policewoman after she had made some alterations to it. Here you guys see the picture, right? From one to the other. A bunch of us, Jews and Palestinians, faculty of the Hebrew U, wrote immediately to our provost and asked him to intervene. We are glad to say that he got back to us promptly and has now issued a stern letter to the police demanding an apology. But here, let's see. This is one picture, and here it is after. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, this is crazy. So anyway, last but not least, I'm gonna just bring you on a little very brief tour of some of the pictures, some of the events of the April 24th, the Armenian genocide memorial. And here is a little bit of what I wrote here. A somber day. On April 24th, Armenians remember the genocide. 1.5 million Armenians killed in Ottoman-era Turkey. In Jerusalem, the community marches to remember and for recognition. Many nations, including Israel, still fail to recognize this as genocide. It was the first genocide of the 20th century and inspired Adolf Hitler to move forward with the Holocaust. The killings, along with the refusal to declare them as genocide, have left a scar that deepens over time. And here's some from the march, which was Thursday night. And this is today. This is in the Armenian Quarter. The speech by this priest is amazing. I'll have to make a video of this. He talks about the fact that there isn't the fact that it hasn't been recognized is what is allowing the proliferation of rhetoric, of dangerous and violent rhetoric by enemies like such as Turkey. Turkey, the leader of Turkey, who has also threatened to renew the Ottoman Empire in Jerusalem. So he's saying, that he's equating this lack of recognition. It's basically like, if we don't recognize the genocide, you allow countries like Turkey to think of their next crime because they know that the crime will go unpunished. So let me go to the next picture. Now, this is in Armenia. This is the genocide memorial itself. And this is on April 24th. Almost every person in Armenia makes a pilgrimage to this memorial, bringing flowers. And look at this. There's like this eternal flame over there in the middle. And here it is. Now look at the flowers piled here. It is really an unbelievable sight. We went back a year or two later, and I saw the memorial at another time when there were no flowers and it was just like a regular day, and I couldn't believe the difference. Like the flowers are like stacked to eye level, and this was just like, in the early afternoon. I can't imagine, like, as the day went on, how more and more people went and added their flowers there. It was absolutely unbelievable. So anyway, that's just a little bit from our day, and that's it. That brings me to an end. Anyway, so but I see Carol has asked what motivated the police to do this. Well, they said that it's basically they say that the flag is incitement and threatened of violence or some. What was the exact charge that they used? they said it was incitement for violence. That was the charge. Yeah. So, just by the flag, because of the flag. So, yeah, because somebody called the police. Somebody said, oh, there's a kippah that's making me uncomfortable as a Palestinian flag, or there's a Palestinian flag and it's making me uncomfortable. And they went and they arrested him. So, anyway, bizarre. Religious wars all around. Okay. Well, anyway, thank you very much for joining. I think we'll be watching the news next couple of days, see what happens, if the talks will actually take place in Islamabad. And then, of course, in the coming weeks, as things progress, if they progress with Lebanon and Israel. Meanwhile, as we watch our ceasefire, non-ceasefire happening over in Israel, Lebanon, and whether or not the ceasefire / blockade will continue over in Iran. So brings me full circle. And again, thank you very much for joining. And again, shout out to the new subscribers that have joined. Very exciting. And thank you. You are very welcome. All right. Well, check in again in the next few days, see what's going on, and we'll chat. No, I'm not going to do that. All right. Thanks.